Well, I must say, Shiroi, it's interesting that for your Generations pick, you chose not a movie, but one of the greatest soundtracks to have come out from the early 2000s and late 90s, the Quest for Camelot soundtrack. I mean, honestly, it's a great
Java.
collection of songs, some of which are very well known, honestly. It's actually
Java.
amazing that these songs were made for an original soundtrack
Java.
bout, but it was a... Yes,
Java.
Mr. Duarte?
I'm afraid to tell you that this thing is tied to a movie.
Nah. It's actually tied to that obscure Nintendo game, Quest for Camelot. But it's not like they sunk a whole movie on this soundtrack that somehow had the soundtrack outlive the movie in terms of people knowing about it.
Welcome to Quest for Camelot, I guess.
Wait, but hang on a minute. I thought this film was called The Magic Sword Quest for Camelot.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that just for now. The production history. Basically, the production history is kind of a mess.
We did try this movie once, but it got lost. Then we actually did it, and I think the commentary was not that bad, but it did like the full team. And this is one of those movies where you actually found arguments are fun to make fun of. So here we are.
Yes, it's time for another session on the show, Dollar Store Discount Disney.
Yep.
One of many occasions where studios were trying to be Disney while struggling with their own identities because it was the 90s, and you know the Renaissance era was when Disney were on top, so everyone had to try and be them. To which Disney would respond by re-releasing movies to smack those competitors out of theaters.
In this case, if I recall correctly, was The Little Mermaid alongside Mulan.
Yep, Swan Princess pretty much got the attack dog with Lion King, Disney's highest grossing animated film. But yes, Quest for Camelot. Warner Brothers has turned to throw their hat in the ring of trying to compete with Disney.
Alright then, so where should we start, Shiroi?
Skip all of the logos and start at the black screen before some water, I guess.
Alright, take us away, please.
3, 2, 1, click.
You know, I know we talk about how supposedly 1997 was a bad year for films, but honestly, the year I recall being more bad for films was 1998.
No,
Lord
I
knows
still,
it was
I
bad
still
for
stand on my
Gary
point that
Oldman's
1997 was worse. So yeah, so 1998 had an after effect of having a good chunk of bad movies, but, you know... I'm curious actually on something, Shiri. Did you catch this on TV?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I remember actually when I watched it, definitely wasn't in theaters when it came out. I don't even remember the marketing. I was still young enough to remember it would have happened.
I only watched it when it came to VHS, and they got a stellar Portuguese cast for the dub.
Completely wasted, then.
Did they
completely wasted? Yes.
Did they get some of the Disney Portuguese?
Oh, yes,
talent?
yes, they did. Yes, they did, Jova. Yes, they did. Annabella, aka the Disney princess voice actress extraordinaire that we have over here, she voices the main character. So they knew what they were doing when they cast the movie over here too.
That being said, they really did push the big cast also for the original English dub. If I recall correctly, our protagonist, Power, is played by Guy Pearce, I think.
No, I think it's
someone else. Someone else important. Even some minor characters tend to be.
Yes. All right. Let me start off with the first issue with this movie. Like many movies trying to be Disney, they tried to be Disney without putting in nearly as much the budget and effort as Disney animated films would get.
The devil from End of Days? You put that as a good guy? What the fuck?
Hey, well, okay, maybe he doesn't want to get typecast.
He was also Kaiser Soze in, The Unusual Suspect,
Beautiful. But yes, this is actually an Arthurian legend story. That is not focused on King Arthur.
Listen, movie. Strange women lying in ponds, delivering swords is no business for a system of government. Supreme executive power, the last one meant for the masses, not for some farcical aquatic ceremony.
In
Oh.
terms of King Arthur movies that I've seen, I'm honestly at a loss as to which one is worse. This or that other King Arthur movie Warner Brothers made.
Legend of the Sword.
You'll have to be specific.
Yeah, King Arthur Legend of the Sword.
Trust me, Dweebs, you haven't seen nearly enough.
I mean, if I went around saying I was an emperor just because some moisty bent threw a sword at me, they'd put me away.
But, well, yeah, if I recall correctly, this is based, much like Sword in the Stone, this is based on one of the quote-unquote apocrypha book. I will say that, but, you know, the Arthurian mythos is usually a
God, that
collection
woman's face is...
I also noticed
Jesus.
a lot of bad CGI. The Arthurian mythos are, you know, a collection of, you know, stories that were cataloged in a more cohesive, quote-unquote manner. So
Also,
that wide shot of them doing the Ringa Roses, why did it look like some of them were going through other people?
Also, this girl is having a lot of fun with her father. I wonder what's going to happen to him.
I mean, look, we're only in a movie trying to be Disney, so I'm sure both parents will turn out just fine.
No, that's the thing, Jova. Surprisingly, the mother lives. That's the weird thing. I guess they escaped both parents at least.
Well, yeah, that was the thing with Disney. It was usually one or the other, but yes, the mothers tended to be targeted more. But sometimes we had an occasion where it was the mother that lived, see Lion King.
the two
And then you
things
get
of the development that I know about this is that, now we're getting the titles, I guess. One, this was supposed to be told in a very different way, but it was retooled for the Disney musical formula at the very end, you know, because the
Yes,
executive,
allow
you know,
me.
pushed them. Sorry, give me just a second. The other one that I know, nearly the entire animation team hates currently, having worked on this. Shiroi, you might have heard one of them working on this, a certain person called Lauren Foster.
Oh,
Yeah, she hates
She was an
this piece of shit.
She was an animator on this. Yes.
What's
she was an
next?
animator
Craig
on this.
McCracken also?
No, I don't
Oh
think so.
god, the frame rate.
Also, yes,
Yeah.
Patrick Doyle does the score for this movie.
Yeah, speaking of wasted talent.
Yeah,
I will
no, that's
say, like, everybody's faces are stretchy and it's weirding me out.
But yes, this is
Mhm.
based on the novel The King's Damosel.
Yeah, the songs were actually written by various different people. It wasn't just like one person or two people writing the songs. It was a combination of various artists. And right now we're hearing "We Stand," which is United We
Only a
Stand,
bottle.
performed by Steve Perry. Yes, that's Steve Perry.
As I've mentioned, and as I hinted at during the opening, the thing that this movie is remembered for the most, well, when it comes to positive stuff, is the
God,
soundtrack.
the slow-mo.
Well,
Oh,
good
good lord.
So the
don't
movie just is now having frame rate issues. It seems.
That's one thing I didn't remember. All the slow-mo stuff.
Even from our
What do you have
last
frame rate
commentary,
issues
I
in a
don't
film
remember
like
this one.
Hey, Dwebs,
Yeah,
I
what-
guess the Black Cauldron wasn't as unique as we thought.
Like, okay, I legit have to wonder if this is an issue with the copy, because even from our last commentary, I don't remember it.
I have to point this out. There's Merlin. He will do absolutely nothing in this movie, by the
And
way.
they wasted another actor on him. I forgot his name. He plays Dr. Sad Athlete in Murder
Sure.
She-Wrote, and
This is
also
his last
Sonic's
role.
Sonic's. I
Sure,
also Sonic's uncle in Set AM. If you're wondering, yeah, I wonder who the villain is.
By the way, the king is played by Pierce Brosnan, who's
Pierce
also
Brosnan
not going to be.
singing. God.
Oh,
okay,
so he has experience.
He doesn't do the singing voice. He only does the speaking voice.
However, originally it was supposed to actually be voiced by Christopher Reeve. They clearly wanted to actually make him a bit more Superman equivalent. Towards the end, you will see because his attire will change slightly. But unfortunately, they had trouble recording his lines, so they changed him at the last second.
I wonder who's gonna be the villain of this movie.
Clearly,
It could
the
be,
guy
of all the people in this table, it could just be about anybody.
Look, guys, it's only an eye-twitching, maniacal-sounding guy voiced by Gary Oldman, who was heavily typecast to playing the bad guys at the time. Clearly, this is Gary Oldman finally getting out of that typecasting. And all the better after Lost in Space.
I would
I
ask
don't know,
why
understand.
Arthur hired this guy, but let's be honest. If you know anything about the Arthurian Cycle, you know that Arthur is the king of not making good decisions.
It doesn't even make any sense. Who the hell looked at that character design and thought, you know who should play this guy? Gary Oldman. Like,
well,
how
again,
does that even connect?
Well, I kind of get it, because usually around the times, and even nowadays, when you get a bad maniacal guy, Gary Oldman is who you tend to think of. Dude played Dracula, after all.
I agree with Pedro that his voice sounds a bit not deep enough for the character, which is what instead they did for My Country's Dub. I'll come back to this for a line later.
He basically died off screen. Did we even see him get hit by anything?
He's the one that tried to shield the King Arthur from the first blow.
Alright.
So let me get this straight. You're writing a Camelot / King Arthur story, and you don't have Merlin do anything. Yeah, sure. Of course. It's not like Merlin was an important character in the story or anything.
We're gonna try at the very end to pretend that this was all of his master plan, but no. Just no.
Yeah. Like, I mean... Okay, we technically do get Merlin suggesting that he was doing stuff, though. Okay, I'll be fair. Not every Arthurian story focuses heavily on Merlin's involvement, so to be fair, it's more like a contractual appearance from him.
But that begs the question, though. Why even have him in the movie, then?
Well, to be fair, by that logic, we might as well ask, why have Arthur in this movie? Because technically he's not the main focus. Like, okay, it's like Merlin's there to show that this is an Arthurian story. He doesn't always have to do something in them. That being said, I do agree, though, that the movie does do a pretty half-assed way to suggest that he was doing stuff all along, but that is like over an hour from now.
Allow me to describe the role of Merlin in this movie. Yeah, there you go. Here's the I Want song. Allow me to describe Merlin's role in this movie. My work here is done.
But you didn't do anything.
I love how we skip over her mourning her father to just a quick half-assed aging thing.
Sorry, Joe, but we cannot have these things called emotions.
Okay. Well, I do love the soundtrack. I will argue this is probably one of the sour spots because this is just generic Disney I Want Song 101. Like, it's retired, rejected, cliche, whatever. Who cares?
Did she at least give her pony a haircut?
Don't remember.
Well, you see, Shiroi, she had to differentiate her...
No, she didn't!
Shiroi, she had to differentiate herself from Belle somehow, because... Yeah, no, that's Belle.
How about this? So she applied the Vanille tactic and just ripped the fur out of the horse like Vanille did with a sheep.
Also, I love how they try to, integrated flashback scene of stuff that we saw 5 minutes ago.
All right, for just a sake, let me get onto the production history. So this started in May 1995, where originally this project was called The Quest for the Grail. Okay. Mm-hmm. Bill Croyer and Frederick Duchow, I think that's it. They were announced as directors, with Sue Croyer serving as co-producer, Elizabeth Chandler, who had co-written the script for A Little Princess from 1995. Okay, she was enlisted to write the script, but was eventually replaced by a trio of writers before Kirk D'Amico eventually got the job, basically. The initial story centered around a young female character named Susanna, who embarks on a dangerous quest for the Holy Grail to save her sister. So this was going to be animated Monty Python and the Holy Grail, basically, to save her sister from a ruthless and powerful knight. And here it is. According to Lauren Faust, who was animated for the film, it was originally envisioned as a PG rating film. It was meant to draw homage to Ralph Bakshi's Wizards.
Oh, that's gone.
But then the executives came in and said, "Nah, just make it like the Disney Renaissance films."
This
Oh,
also
boy.
came into expense of our main character. It's obviously too early to say it, but let's just say this is the kind of movie that back in the day tried to say, see, this is not your typical damsel in distress, and then immediately
My
did that.
God, could this sequence be any more bland and uninspired?
Dorian
Yeah.
Fausto particularly hates that particular aspect. She didn't mince words about it.
So the film was actually put into production before the story was realized. However, during the fall of '95, the animators were reassigned to finish Space Jam. Meanwhile, in April '96, Christopher Reeve was cast as King Arthur, like Theo said. During the interim, several story changes were made that resulted in creative differences between the Croyers and studio management. In particular, Excalibur replaced the Holy Grail, which Warner Bros. Feature Animation president Max Howard felt better reflected the film's setting. Because the symbol of Camelot is the power of Excalibur, blah, 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 he said, basically. Meanwhile, the king is the king just can't run a single meeting without it being interrupted, can he?
Yeah,
That's kind of the point of a lot of Arthurian legends.
I will
Like,
say
Camelot
this,
was very troubled.
I will say this: the three circles actually is not used that much in a lot of adaptations. So proud for the movie to try, something about it.
Were griffins a
Yes,
common thing in the Arthurian legend?
Well,
Okay.
potentially. Griffins are, when it comes to creation of, mythological beasts, griffins are from, Greek mythology, so could have easily
I
just been
guess.
imported. But let's just say that the griffin also has a voice actor that I'll mention when he actually speaks.
Oh, there you go. And that was Merlin's big moment of the movie. I hope you enjoyed it there. Following the departure of the Coyers, two supervising animators, along with several employees in the studio's art department, subsequently left the project. So basically, a lot of people saw that this movie was going to be a gigantic piece of doo-doo because of what? Okay, apparently it's an enchanted forest, I guess. Yeah, this is one of the first things. The world building in this movie is not great because there's a lot of things in this movie that have little to no explanation to things like, for example, for whatever reason, this forest has hands. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't mind it, but at least explain to me how and why is it like this.
And to be clear, I'm not asking that the movie just stop in its tracks and explain stuff, but at least something later on or a bit earlier.
No? Oh, it is.
I love it. They have a specific code for that.
So you're telling me that this horn is used exclusively only for the purpose of saying that the Excalibur has been stolen, because otherwise...
to be fair, I can imagine it's a big emergency, so it would be justified, but man, it's a bit overkill.
Also, there's one of the maids from Little Mermaid.
Guys, here's the amazing, super fresh character trait our main character has. She wants more out of her life.
Okay. To her credit, that's not strictly what she goes for. She wants to be a knight, so she has a goal.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, honey, that's a noble goal. Unfortunately, you live in the Middle Ages and you don't have a penis. So unfortunately, you're kind of out of luck on that one. Sorry.
Unless you're one of those lucky lady knights in some of the Arthurian legends, but I digress. Not your lucky day.
Well, the point is that, with more competent writing, we could have still pulled it off, but instead it comes off very clumsily, as you will see.
Like, here's the problem about Kaylee. She talks a ton of crap, but when it actually comes time to throw down, she sucks.
She's all bark and no bite. Dwebs, allow me to help you. Here's what we can do. Usually in these movies, you have a character who's meant to be the audience proxy that normally asks the questions we are asking from. This movie doesn't really have that.
By the way,
so yes, this chicken is a henpecked husband.
This chicken will actually speak later on, and he's voiced by, of all people, Jalur White.
Okay,
well, not yet.
I didn't think the animals would start speaking, and also what?
I know.
Right, well,
I know.
As for some of the actual people behind this, Pedro mentioned earlier Mr. Frederick Duchow. He's previously an animator on things such as the Smoggies, Tailspin, the 1980s Tom and Jerry movie, and The Land Before Time 3.
Lovely.
And as for actual directing, this was his first one in English. The other one was some other film called Het Mystery van het Lam. Pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. He's a Belgian director.
Also, can we talk about how the pacing of this movie is super duper fast? Seriously, like the movie wouldn't give us a single chance to fucking breathe because it's like big thing after big thing happening.
Yes,
He would go on to make Racing Stripes, Underdog, and The Crostons.
I don't know about any of that.
And as for the screenwriters, William Schifrin, whose most recent work was in 2022, writing the script for Night at the Museum, Kamara Rises Again.
Oh, the animated movie. Me, Dejin.
Yeah, he was a writer for Fairly Odd. He's also a writer for Fairly Odd Parents, among other things. Kirk DeMico, this was his first work, and he would go on to make stuff like the Crude films, Vivo, Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken, and The Twits.
I think it's about to get in now. We're about to get the Bill Sod, and spoilers, Gary Oldman cannot sing.
Not even just that, like, it's a part that Gary Oldman can sing, but the song itself is also terrible. Seriously, the song feels like it's being made up as he goes along. Like, I can't even tell what the melody of this thing is.
Also, no, Gary Oldman does not have a singing double.
See what I mean?
They couldn't get
the song has no rhythm.
To voice double him.
No, even Jim Cummings couldn't save this one. The song has no rhythm. The lyrics are dumb.
I know it's intentional, but the fact that he didn't cut his finger and his fingernails, pisses me off to no end.
It sounds. This is one of those where it sounds more like he's trying to sing his spoken lines rather than actually have a song.
Jacqueline Feather.
Right. My favorite gag, the fact that this magic potion is actually from the Acme Corporation. Cute.
Okay, that's actually cute, Warner Brothers.
Yes,
and yes, he does mention, and to his credit, he does mention that he got that from witches, but yes, he has a potion that can combine anyone with anything.
Well, specifically a man and a weapon.
Jacqueline Feather, whose only other feature film credit, she did mainly a lot of television scripts, was The King and I. And finally, David Seidler, who also worked on The King and I, among a lot of other stuff, including The King's Speech. Quite an upgrade jump, I must say.
Also, the way Kaylee gets away is unbelievably silly. The bad guy literally lets go of her hand in time for her to sneak behind her mother, and the mook who comes to take her mother's other arm doesn't think, oh wait, wasn't there like our main bargaining chip?
Did the songwriters write this when they were drunk?
Yes.
That would explain a lot, actually.
The only possible answer that makes sense to that question is yes.
Anyway. Also, was not expecting robots.
Yeah, they're more like mechanical abominations, but yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's about like the messy development and the fact that it changed directors and writers forgot. Like it really shows in the final product because this movie has no idea what the fuck it wants to be.
Okay, now also for weird casting, Bronson Pinchot, aka Bulky from Perfect Strangers as the Griffon. I'm sorry, what?
Because
Okay.
you know,
Well, again, a lot of these actors were insanely big at the 90s, like, Jaleel White, Bronson Pinchot, thanks to, like, Perfect Strangers.
I mean, a seagull hit me in the head today. I survived.
Oh, damn.
Oh, dang. Why was it pissed off at you?
Jova.
It was trying to take food from two small children that were in front of me, so I was caught in the crossfire.
Jova, you have to understand that when it comes to seagulls, they don't give a shit. Oh boy,
Oh.
okay, we're about to get it now. Alright, we're about to get the breakout song for this very reason, and as everyone and their mother mentioned, placed in the worst possible, moment in the movie.
Yes, The Prayer. Okay, as a kid, I honestly thought this was originally a gospel song because a lot of gospel singers
Mhm.
co-opted this for their own covers of it, but no.
no,
This song,
was made for
this
this movie.
fantastic song was made for this movie.
And it was
It's-
sung
it's-
by
it's-
Celine Dion.
Yeah, Celine
Okay,
Dion.
well,
It's
again, 90s, so obviously get Celine
The
Dion.
credit version,
Remember,
if I recall
this-
correctly, also will have Andrea Bocelli.
It's like no, it's the big problem is that okay. See, here's the thing. I'm not the big problem with having this song in this scene is because there's no possible story context to justify it. The reason the other promise works when we're fighting Roxas in Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is because there's a story context behind what's happening that justifies other promise being a sad piano song, right? There's no story justification for this. That it's just incredibly dissonant tonally.
The problem is also how it's animated. Like, I mean, maybe if it were animated in a very good, gripping, and dramatic way to, give audio dissonance with the soundtrack, maybe, but no. She's clearly running in terror of her life, and there's a somewhat slightly comedic band of bad guys after her. Like, it just does not fit with the song at all.
Even though the song was supposedly made for the sequence, the lyrics don't in any way reflect anything in the story, much less what's happening now.
I'm definitely going to chalk it up to that the prayer was added when they were going for a more Disney direction, but the only place they had to really attach it to was this section.
I'm honestly convinced that whoever wrote this song had zero knowledge of how the movie was going to use it. I'm honestly convinced.
Our future night, ladies and gentlemen.
And
Yes,
hey,
I'm-
just like in a Disney movie, gotta have the creepy forest that hinders her at every step of the way.
There's also
There's
some.
been some very intentional shots in this movies to mimic
Yeah.
Disney,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, okay.
different
What's a-
Disney movies.
Yeah, our what's her name again, Jova? Our protagonist again. Look at
Haley.
Discount. I usually just call her Discount Bell.
She's voiced by Jessalyn Gilsig.
Yeah, she
Fun
has.
fact, us.
Oh, here's the best
Anderson.
character.
Yes, this man is played by Carey Elwes.
For some
Remember,
reason.
Pedro, stuff like, The Princess Bride, so
I
typecasting.
guess.
Yeah. Big name for the time again.
Go ahead, let's explain the other title that they went with before this one.
Well, that's the name of that's the name of the film outside of North America. Why they did that? Well, explain. That's as well explained as anything else in this movie.
That's the thing,
Where
Dwebs.
Pool come from?
It's
I have a better
advantage
question.
here. Shut up.
I have a better. I have a better question. While I do appreciate this movie for having a really cool blind character, which was incredibly rare for 90s media, so I'll take what I can get. But at the same time, I have to wonder, how did you do that?
He has very good senses, basically. He goes
He's
to the Daredevil
Daredevil.
school of
They
fighting.
literally just had Fantasy Daredevil.
I guess.
Again, definitely not the one to judge, in details this guy, but I think the movie tries to strike a balance, to not make him too overpowered. The problem is that, as you can imagine, he will do most of the work because our protagonist, as mentioned, wants to be a knight, but in actuality does nothing.
Wait, here we go. I think we're about... Oh, never mind.
It's
Go on.
more similar to Avatar Lester Bender. Go on.
Here's the issue with the plot. Typically, the idea with the hero's journey, in the case of, say, the rookie hero, is the first act, the hero is completely green to this one. By the second act, the hero is starting to learn things, and by the third act, the hero is at least rough and ready and honed enough to properly fight. Haley's arc is, okay. It is definitely at odds, since on the one hand, it does seem like they want to try and have her get better.
Oh,
The problem is...
It's now.
He named the Falcon cute. Allow me to rebuff you in song.
Yeah, the movie, by the
seriously.
way, is gonna waste your time for the next 3 minutes. So.
The song literally comes out of nowhere. Like, there's no justification for him to break into a song in the story. Go on, Dwes.
Knowing that originally the movie was supposed to be its own thing before becoming more of a Disney musical knockoff, it makes these songs' weird placement make more sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually one of the more hilarious moments of the film for me. They waste all this time, writing a song, doing the lyrics, doing the singing, animation and everything, all to get undone like almost 30 seconds after it's finished.
Not even 30 seconds, like more like 10. You'll see. But right now he's singing about how he stands alone, he needs no help from anybody, blah 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 blah
so
blah.
fucking cool, I guess.
Because he's cool as shit. That being said, Webbs, here's the interesting thing about the foreign names for this movie. Here's what this movie is called in my country: The Magic Sword.
Same.
That's
Just
it.
that.
Just
Fair
that. The
enough.
magic, the most generic title you can think of.
I think it might also have a subtitle. It's called The Magic Sword in Search for Excalibur, I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jova, but is Excalibur even magical in this movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Very.
That's why Ruber wants it.
Okay, it's still a generic title, and it sucks still, though.
Oh, yeah. Like, honestly, at first I'd ask, why not call it Excalibur?
Oh,
but then I remember there are several King Arthur movies called Excalibur.
I'm looking at the other foreign titles on IMDb. Get this. Here's why it's called. What? Okay, that stump has legs, too, because... Okay.
Because the forest is enchanted.
Sure.
Hey, look, it's one of those pinwheel flowers from Sonic Heroes.
Here's the name of the movie in Spain. The Magic Sword in Search for Camelot. What do you mean in Search for Camelot? We are in Camelot!
I think that might also actually the subtitles in my country got.
That is weird, because
here we go. Here we go. Is what Wes was mentioning.
You're gonna learn to have friends and you're gonna like it.
Wow.
So basically spent 3 minutes explaining via a song why he's badass and independent and he doesn't need anybody's help, any normie's help, only for the normie to go, oh, come on, please. And he's like, oh, okay, fine.
Also,
that's it.
Okay, maybe the copy we got was one that was lacking special effect, but I could swear one of the shots was having an actual green screen in the background.
Yeah, that's the main problem. Even when the song, and don't get me wrong, that song that he just sung, it's a really good song. The problem is, it has no purpose in the movie. It's just a waste of your time. What? Oh, I get it.
He has a
90s
monocle
lo-
on him. Of
No, oh,
course.
I get it. Never mind. I get it. 90s cartoon logic. Because if you have a monocle, that automatically means you're smart. It's like the glasses
Well,
thing.
yeah.
Okay, you'd think they would have at least give him some kind of direction to do something, but no, he's just using his sonic voice.
I mean, to be fair, that was one of the voices he was best known for, aside from Urkel. And let's be honest, do we really want the Urkel voice for this?
I do
I mean,
like the moss with all those eyeballs.
I mean, we could have him use his normal, is like a more deeper voice for a change. You know, it's nothing different for him to stretch his wings. Get it? Stretch his wings.
Well, it's a chicken,
as an
so
actor.
cannot.
Okay.
Accurate
To be fair, he was younger at the time. I think. Okay, the sonic voice wasn't exactly his normal voice, but it was closer to his normal voice.
Also,
Oh, I actually forgot about this bit.
well, that's the thing. It's still not that much. It's not there to say, yeah,
never mind.
we're in the movie. But, okay, I have to raise the question. Why did they animated Merlin's face to look like he was angry?
Yeah, I don't get it either. Merlin always
Because
looks
it's
angry in this
foreboding
movie.
times, yo.
Yeah. And now we're in a desert.
More
I mean,
like
to be fair, if I were in this movie, I wouldn't be happy myself.
desolated area with possibly, bad.
Never mind. I guess the Spanish title is correct. We are indeed in search of Camelot because apparently we're no longer in Camelot. Because
Okay,
when did we
two-
arrive at this place?
Okay, and I can't believe I'm saying this, to that title's credit, technically this is not part of Camelot. Remember the escape sequence? It showed one sign leading to Camelot, one leading to the Forbidden Forest. How nice of them to mark it. So technically not all of it takes place in Camelot.
I guess.
Search for Camelot is a dumb title because we are never searching for Camelot. In fact, there are signs literally showing you the way to Camelot. So somebody being in search of Camelot would have to be somebody who can't read.
As for the producer, Dallas Cooper Cohen, one of the animators, a man named David Germain, said that Miss Cohen hated animation, and there were rumors that the reason she hated doing this project was because Warner Brothers demoted her to animation after a film that she co-produced, a 1995 film called A Little Princess, failed at the box office.
I actually saw
Never
that one.
heard of that one.
It's depressing as fuck.
I find it amazing how this woman who claims she wants to be a royal knight, and yet she's so useless that she literally needs a blind man to help her get out of things.
Also, speaking of more comedy relief, I keep forgetting. One is Eric Idle. I forgot who the other is. That play these two characters.
You mean
Don
his
Rickles
brother?
and Eric Idle.
Yeah.
Together at last!
That's because instead my country actually got only one person, one comedian, the guy who voiced the genie in Aladdin, and basically made him do two different impressions.
That makes sense.
Two things. She hasn't been trained as a knight, and also we saw that her mother actually tried to discourage her from becoming one. So of course she's going to be useless in this department. And also about the comment of so useless she needs a blind man to help her out. I will counteract that with this: tough.
Yeah.
Oh, no, sure.
Yeah, but that wasn't around yet, though.
Like you said, we even did a
Yeah, but this is a fantasy world where it's like people have grasp on their specific, whatever they're good at kind of thing. It was like, it's the same kind of thing, really. Hell,
So-
part of that song he was singing was about how he feels the earth. Come on.
I guess. But here's the thing, though. Okay, no, we have Don Wrinkles and Eric Idle, two British comedians. Here's the problem: they give him absolutely nothing funny to say.
Like, they have fine
And also-
enough chemistry, but yeah, they're not exactly character favorites.
I
in
really-
a cast that
Also-
was already
I
so
really need to
beloved.
know what the hell Eric Idle's agent, was doing around this time.
Yeah, I was going to say, that actually leads me on to, I was going to say, actually, Tio. 1998 was a very rough year for Eric Idle. In addition to this, there was also an Alan Smithy film, Burn Hollywood Burn.
Yeah.
And Lost in Space, right?
No,
Eric Idle, Pedro.
Rudolph
Eric
the
Idle, never
Red-Nosed
mind.
Reindeer,
Never
the
mind,
movie,
Yeah, the one that we
And,
commented on.
and the only other movie that might actually be worse than this one, Secret of Nim 2, Timmy to the Rescue.
Oh
Yeah,
God!
definitely the agent
What a
was doing
resume.
some type of, drug.
I will be fair to Kaylee. She does get better in the movie later on, as one expects from this sort of arc here. The problem is just how long the movie takes with her actually getting to do that stuff. Now, I do kind of get why. They want to show the other cast doing their stuff here and there. The problem is the movie's too short. It
All right.
needs
I will also
More
give
time.
this, watch this. How to show you how the villain means business? He punched a dragon in the fucking mouth.
Yeah. Like,
But yeah, no.
yeah,
To add
like-
to add what Jova was saying, this movie, even with credits included, is only 1 hour and 25 minutes. It's super short.
Yeah. And I will give, and to build off of Teal's point, to give the movie credit, it does show that Ruber is a legit threat, and does at least explain why King Arthur might have hired him, like, dude strong enough he can punch out dragons. I mean, yeah, he seems like a guy to help out with the peace, and I guess up until he got power mad, he was apparently doing his job fine.
Man,
I mean,
90s movies-
according to Tio, Arthur also had terrible ideas.
Just,
Uh,
just
yes.
Lancelot for starters.
Oh man, oh God, no, it's their song. Ugh.
Yeah. How they want to actually be separated instead they have to
90
live with each other.
90s movies really had a special knack for sucking out all the funny out of Eric Idle, didn't
Hey, I wonder
Jeez.
what that was referencing right there and then.
they? Yeah.
As,
This is,
as I
What
mentioned,
TV now?
1998 in particular.
yeah. No, but that's the thing, Dwips. In here, it's clearly meant to be like the Genie song from Aladdin, where they're making pop culture reference the same way Robin Williams does pop culture references in Aladdin. The thing is, there's not a context that justifies it, because the genie is an otherworldly being, so you can theorize that maybe he knows things from traveling the cosmos or some shit, right? There's no possible justification you can come up for how these dragons even know all these things they're referencing.
I'm willing to give them some leeway as the comedic relief. Problem, they're not funny.
Nope. Which, again, they have two hilarious actors voicing them, so you'd think but there would be at the very least some amount of funniness, but no.
Like, how to describe this? I feel like they do have good chemistry in the movie. The thing is, that's all they've got, chemistry. They are trying their best, but the script is not doing them any favors.
So get this, I'm looking for the other titles. Here's the Polish title. The Magic Sword, Legend of Camelot. So the title is doubly generic this time.
Jesus.
The Magic Sword, Legend of Camelot.
Okay, Wile E. Coyote reference, that's neat. Like, okay, here's the problem with this movie. It is stuck between trying to be Disney while remembering, hey, we're a Warner Brothers film. Which,
Also-
not to say that you can't merge the two, that's literally what Who Framed Roger Rabbit did, but there's a time and place.
Also,
Mhm.
while it's not obvious here, in terms of the other actors that had singing voice doubles, another problem with this movie is that when it comes to those, the singing doubles don't sound anything like the speaking voices.
No.
I feel that some do it better than others. Like, I think Andrea Core does fine enough as Kaylee's singing voice.
The problem is Garrett. Carrie Elwes and Brian White don't.
That's it, Brian White. Sorry, I said Brian Adams earlier. Oh, here's another funny title. The French title for this movie is Excalibur: The Magic Sword.
I mean,
no mention of Camelot whatsoever.
I guess that one tries to be more on the point. Huh?
Yeah, that one seems like one of the more reasonable.
And by the way, yeah, another song that immediately after 1 second we're like, okay, we're going.
Again, these songs serve
everything.
It's like I'm watching The Lion Guard. The songs serve no purpose. You can literally cut them out of the movie and nothing would be lost.
Oh, I don't know, Pedro. Scar's songs sure seem to have a purpose of pissing off lore enthusiasts of the Lion King franchise.
Okay, sure. I get it's a bad purpose, but I guess it's a purpose. No, can you please leave them behind, please? Oh, hey, Hayden. Oh no, that's the Merlin eagle, isn't it?
Yeah, Falcon, actually.
Well, we're not supposed to know that yet.
Oh, but didn't we see it Merlin earlier with the?
Yes, he literally says fly silver wings.
Yeah.
Also, I agree. No more singing.
If I recall correct, what would dragon taste like?
Some say, okay, ironically, a lot of fantasy media I've seen suggest it takes, like, a premium steak.
I guess chicken to an extent, because, reptile and...
What about alligator?
Possibly.
Or crocodile?
That is possible, yeah.
It also, I guess, okay, I need to remember exactly how Monster Hunter, the video game franchise, deals with actually, different types of, food that you consume from the monsters themselves.
Gee, this place looks kind of familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that is to be bothered. The questioning the morality of X-Beak, because he was perfectly fine just living his life and being, a shitty husband for his hen, But the moment the villain transforms him, he is loyal to him for some reason.
Okay, this is a blink and you'll miss it, but during his villain song, they do capture his wife, and yes, it turns out he does love his wife.
Okay,
so
no,
with his
fair
wife
enough,
being
because
captive,
it's something that will be paid off later on. Okay.
Yeah, what Java just said brings up a good point as well. The details, like so many details in this movie are in blink and you'll miss it moments, and as a result, it's incredibly easy to miss them. Because again, the movie is not because the movie is not really interested in conveying things in a way that's absorbing. Not really. It just throws a detail at you, and then boom, that's it. Goodbye.
Also, rotoscope stick people.
They could have cut out a couple of songs and instead used that time to actually relay those details a bit better.
This is the backstory of our male protagonist, and it's probably the best scene in the movie.
He too dreamt of becoming a knight.
I mean, is being a knight the be-all and all of reality in Camelot?
Okay, to be fair, that is considered a huge honor, but yeah, he was blinded by a horse kind of knocking him in the head. Which, given how powerful horses can get, you're kind of lucky that's all that occurred.
Yeah, you're kind of lucky to be alive, and I think it's so experience.
I love this. Coincidence of coincidences. His master was Kaylee's father.
But as you can see, probably was also part of the 4D chatting of Berlin.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we see Merlin creepily staring at them while they train, basically.
Is that how it works? You get hit in the head, then fall over, and then bam.
It's complicated. It's complicated, but it's very possible. Yes.
It's a potential form of brain damage, or basically damage to the optic nerves.
Reminded with if you didn't see it, basically quite a number of years ago, there was a fight that broke out somewhere in the UK between a bunch of drunks, and one of the guys was punched so hard in a specific location he died. Like, the head is very sensitive.
Hey, Kaylee, you want to maybe help the blind person trying to find the things for us to make a bonfire and shit? Maybe do something useful?
Oh, well,
Nah,
he
this is
insists
funnier.
on doing everything on his own.
I
Yeah,
cannot
this is also important.
This is my.
The fact that you mentioned specifically that some herbs can heal you.
Doesn't this count as being offensive to a disabled person because you're just not helping them and you're just forcing them to do all of their work?
It's tricky as a subject, but I do remember one thing, Constant, that was also mentioned a couple of other times, is that the 90s were not particularly graceful to the subject to begin with, so it might be a case of the fair for its day trope, where this could have been much, much worse.
Okay,
and now he has to teach her how to fight. Great. Go on.
Okay, let's be fair. In regards to her not helping him out, that's more so from his own insistence that he can handle stuff on his own. Literally had a song about that and everything. Also,
That is true.
Jedi training.
It is true that his song is called "I Stand Alone," and I can do things without help and blah blah blah. Oh yeah, this totally feels our own movie. Good job.
To put things into perspective, let's think about back to Avatar with Toph. Toph did not really like getting help from men.
We just needed a scene of the villain scooping up burnt coal and having an O face.
Wow, calling
Why do
out
we have
the
to see Gary
heroine's
Oldman get
name.
high? What is happening here?
And we immediately cut to this scene, yeah. But yeah, no, like, thinking back to Avatar, Toph made it a point that she didn't want to get help. She felt that she did her own work just fine, didn't need help for it anyway. I'm gonna give this movie credit. I think it's going on that avenue of thought that, if anything, they don't want to demean, what's his name? Garrett, was it?
Garrett.
So.
Yes, Garrett. I take it more as that the cast don't want to demean Garrett by insisting he needs their help because he's shown he's that capable. I don't think that's it being offensive by not helping him.
Okay, yes, I get that, but I feel like they went from one extreme to the other extreme. There's nothing wrong with saying something like, "Oh, by the way, could you pass me the mustard?" or something like that, or something like have both of them help each other like the two protagonists that they are.
Speaking of which, now Kaylee finally gets her time to shine when she has to actually rescue Garrett.
I generally agree with what Jova is saying about how they're approaching this. Like, I'm not expecting, peak representation from this movie in terms of anything. Hell, I didn't even expect a blind character at all. But the thing is, like, in a general, like, when we're talking about a real life setting, if we do not ask for help, do not help of your own accord.
Because that's
sense.
patronizing at that point.
Yeah. If we ask for it, then great. But if we don't, leave us to it until stated otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
I can imagine that depends on the situation. If there's a car coming towards them in the middle of the road or something like that.
Yeah. But that's like an emergency situation. But also, I think there's something different here that that doesn't apply to Toph. He wasn't born blind, and people's experiences and how they react to wanting help or not wanting help is very different from how I feel. Like, he probably does want help sometimes, but he's also probably way too proud and stubborn to ask for it.
Given that the man literally made a song about being able to do everything on his own,
my brother in Christ, you're dying. Shut up.
Tio. This is just what we guys do when we're dying, but we have a heartthrob next to us.
Speak for
Sing
yourself.
and hope that she's single.
It's
what? What? You've never been dying and sung to the woman holding your hand before? That's just a part of growing up.
Oh, look at that. They're falling in love even though they have zero relationship.
This is so earned.
Yeah, like, look, I'll defend some things about this. Oh, by the way, he's okay now.
Again,
that's magic. I'm sorry, no.
Well, that's the thing, Pedro.
No.
They did set up this Chekhov's gun, but they did it 5 minutes ago. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Yes, when we were doing the training thing, he was explaining to her specifically how about some leaves are meant to use as curative remedies.
This is
So what was
another
the-
famous song that came
Oh
from this
god, the
movie.
CGI.
So what was the point of him getting injured if you're going to immediately
Because we
magically
can have
heal
the
him?
scene in the cave where the two old hands.
Yeah, just so he can have this scene.
Hilarious.
I just like to imagine that they had to buy up a bunch of Disney movies to take notes on what to do, because
No
God, this feels like Disney.
No wonder
discount.
all the animator, pretty much the entire animation team, resents making this movie. I can also definitely see the the incoherent, almost maddening, lack of cohesion between shots and animation style. If you pay attention, it's very noticeable how sometimes there is no real cohesion between two shots. We will jump ahead way too much, between two scenes. And sometimes the art style radically changes.
Which honestly leads me to wonder, since it seems like the only people who legit enjoyed their work were the song makers. What were the song makers told? Like, I mean, seriously,
Just
they
make
put
the songs
so
and we
much.
will use those in the movie.
Jova, like I've said, I am genuinely convinced the songwriters were not told what was the story context of the songs because it just screams like that.
You say that, but then we have stuff like Ruber's song, which literally only works if they were
fine.
watching the movie while writing that one.
Okay, fine. Kaylee's one song and Rupert's song are the exceptions. The other songs, though, I'm like, for example, the I Stand Alone song. I'm honestly convinced that nobody told the songwriter that the song was going to be invalidated 1 minute later.
These
Oh,
are
great.
the bad parts.
Now I can believe we're in Camelot because look at all the fog.
That's the thing also. I know that the Arthurian Cycle sometimes employ much more the supernatural element, particularly when they tend to include Avalon into the mix. Watch Fados reviews of the different bootlegs if you need to know more. But you're telling me that the UK's geography is Professor Layton tier of this variety.
Yes, of course.
I guess the dragons must have really done a number to the terrain.
Oh boy, here we go, the terribly CGI'd ogre. So far it's not super visible thanks to the fog, but don't worry, we will get a good look at him later.
I know it's been said before, but he just looks like the Rockbiter.
Was about to say that. Technically, the scabbard itself is also very powerful, so you guys should hang on to that.
Joe,
yes.
but I hate to tell you, but Sonic and the Black Knight is not a good reference.
No. Avalon being powerful on itself is not a thing exclusive to Sonic and the Black Knight. That's a thing from Arthurian legend too. Hell, Fate made a big deal about it as well.
I would
And
argue, Joe,
by
that
the way-
Fate is even less of a good reference to that. That is so cursed.
I understand the point that Shiro was making. I just wish Kaylee would do something useful. Just do something useful instead of just. She might as well be a blow-up doll Garrett carries around.
And to be fair, we literally did have the action sequence where she does save the party from Rupert and manage to outwit him and his goons. So we can't say she's done nothing.
Okay, I haven't actually played the infamous titles, Tidus Game Boy Color video game, but considering it's supposed to be a Zelda knockoff, I suppose she has to do something in that one.
Well,
I
yeah,
haven't
by
missed it,
extension
have
of the gameplay alone. So
Whoa.
Can I help you?
Can I talk to you about the extension to your car warranty?
Also, Jova, thank you for bringing up another soundtrack we need to commentate on one day.
Yes.
Yeah, that CG is.
And now the best line in the movie. It perfectly sums up the movie.
Wait for it.
There you go. You
Yeah,
want this
okay.
movie summed up with just one line of
Really?
dialogue?
I
There you
want to say, well, again, I think it's.
Oh, wait, here we go. Joke! Yes! We have a fart joke!
I will say
Hooray.
also.
It's all ogre now.
Oh,
Anyway.
there's never been this more ogre.
You were warned, ogre and ogre again.
I will say this: the major problem to me with the ogre's bloodline. It's the fact.
Yeah, fourth wall joke.
It's the fact that Gary Oldman says that almost like he's just mildly annoyed. He's just, more like in distress more than anything. Where the character clearly should be more, annoyed or angry at that, which is what my country stuff did. Thus, making the line actually sounding convincing.
That's very easy to explain to you. Here's what probably happened. Gary Oldman read that line in the script. He realized it was a terrible line, so he said that with gritted teeth. Because he said the ogre's butt, but in his mind he was thinking, "Oh my god, do I have to really say this line right now?"
My point
It's
is
like-
that I think it could have still managed to be worked out with better direction.
Like, one really has to wonder, was it really just the ogre's butt? Like, in which case, what was the mentality behind that scripting?
I have no idea. Although, Jova, I can tell you what the role of the ogre's butt is in the movie. It's exactly where this script came from.
But yes, we've got Excalibur. Well done.
Does this mean we can now use the spiritual stone so we can go to the sacred realm and
Sorry,
oh no, if we do that, Ganondorf takes over. Never
I'm
mind.
sorry, the screen was just shaking with that overhead shot. What the heck?
Okay. This is the part. This is the other part that's so.
All right, I forgot. I completely forgot about this.
Yeah. So we saved Excalibur. Sorry, we've recovered Excalibur, which means now all we have to do is give it back, and everything should be fine, right? I mean, we've made it all the way this far. What says we can't do the rest of the tourney, right?
Oh, right, this bit.
This is so dumb.
Why
Garrett?
she gave him bedroom eyes?
It's okay, he can't see him.
Da, 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 da.
Oh my god, can you please go away? Thank
Hey,
you. You missed, so.
Again, general rule: unless there are very, very specific conditions, and I argue you're very lucky. If you're writing into the script the objection to something annoying, that's not a good sign.
They're so unfunny. Oh, here you go.
Yes! Say it's so beautiful to the blind guy! Okay, that one was kind of a moronic move.
Yeah.
Ah.
What? Wait, what?
Maybe for the time they're discriminatory against a guy who's blind, but dude,
No,
just show them what you can do.
He's literally doing basically this to himself. Basically, Garrett, there you go. Garrett has this weird belief that he doesn't belong there in any capacity. Again, if it's for his disability, it's never actually. This is actually one of the things that the movie never explained this. But for the purpose of this, there isn't any particular reason why he feels like he doesn't belong there.
Garrett, I have an objection to your claim. So far in this move, you've been the most physically competent fighter I've seen. So
Yeah.
if all those dumb morons who constitute the fucking royal guard of Camelot can be knights, then surely you can too, because you're much better than all of them from what I've seen.
I feel like the characters are like they're singing the wrong songs.
It's like, look, this could work if we saw any hint of doubt he had in himself, but no, he's been incredibly confident in himself throughout. This is like if Toph at the end of book 2 went, you know what, maybe I'm not the world's greatest
I mean,
earthbender,
okay,
and just-
Not just that,
to that
she literally had an
extent,
entire. Yeah, literally had an entire song called "I Stand Alone." That's entire purpose is to say how independent he is.
Also,
awesome
Jova, I know it's not on the same kind of wavelength for obvious reasons, but I still haven't forgotten, the fact that the Toph in, book 4 of Korra, does that Riddle cameo towards the middle point, and you think she's gonna be part of the climax, but she's not. I still
Well,
don't
that's-
understand that.
Yeah.
Well, that's Legend of Korra, different show, and yeah, she's old by that point. I still call bullcrap on that myself too.
Gonna
but
pretend
yeah.
I haven't seen that.
Yes.
Why did we just have that?
In this scene,
Incest!
the writers barely disguise fetish.
What's with the
yes,
dragon
Pedro?
incest?
Hey, Debs, you're the English one here. Who would you want as your personal night guard? Garrett or Miss Useless herself, Kaylee?
Garrett.
There you go. I rest my case.
Hell, I mean, with Garrett, with Garrett, yeah, at least I'd have my own personal daredevil. This,
Not just
this,
that,
this,
he can
this
actually-
person,
he can
on the other
actually-
hand,
Not to mention, he can actually fight, whereas she's about as useless as a blow-up doll.
Alright, now the villain actually is gonna do something relatively ingenious, just so that Excalibur is not taken from him anymore. He just, instead of drinking the potion himself, he just does it just for the arm, so he can literally fuse the sword to his hand.
Dibs, you know what?
Yeah.
Let's not go to Camelot. It is a silly place.
I am... Okay,
yeah,
what I
that place is
do...
only a model
While I
anyway.
do like this on paper, I have resent a bit the idea that Excalibur, being a sword of purity, can be corrupted this easily.
Okay, I think the idea is he has the sword, but he can't use its full power. And we do see those weird sparks to showcase that, yeah, something's wrong actually grafting Excalibur like that.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first iteration where Excalibur has been kind of corrupted, essentially, but still purified
the
in
entire
the end,
the
mind you.
entire part of the Arthurian Cycle was the fact that because of all the shit that happened with Lancelot and Arthur, they were not worthy of holding Excalibur anymore, and he was returned to the Lady of the Lake, Nimue.
I mean, yeah, okay. King Arthur hasn't done much in this. Hasn't done much in this movie, but to be fair, I mean, I'd rather take that over the times I've seen them have King Arthur be the bad guy for whatever reason.
Okay,
two
Kaylee,
is-
this is time for you to prove yourself as a knight. Go ahead. Fight.
Oh no, first of all, we need to have the comic relief dragons finally do something useful. Wait a minute, you're telling me that the moment I left her, she got captured immediately?
Like, somehow, even though it's only two of them, they're somehow more annoying than the entirety of the comic relief cast from the Swan Princess movies combined. They're so unfunny and
Again,
obnoxious.
between Casper and the barrage of Vizier that we've described, I really don't understand the thought process that Eric Idle had.
Simple tale. He already had it made because he was living off of the royalties from all the Monty Python stuff. So now he can just enjoy life doing whatever and he doesn't care.
I know, but my god, I have some dignity.
If there's one thing that British comedians, for the most part, did not have when it comes to their movie picks, was dignity. Remember when God, what's his name? Rick Mayall. When Rick Mayall was in Drop Dead Fred.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Rick Mayall is a British comedy legend. No.
I
Hey,
love
should
it.
anyone else be a little worried that there's a foreboding
A
dark
literal
cloud?
Black Knight. She has a literal Black Knight accompanying the caravan. But like, no, it's not truly. Everything is fine.
Literally everybody in this kingdom is useless.
I guess
Even
at
the
least
king is useless.
I guess at least Pierce Brosnan at least got the easiest paycheck out of all of these. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, to give it credit, I think protagonist is actually about to do something.
Okay, let's see.
God, the CGI. I forgot how much CGI is in this.
Even the animation is not that good. I guess it's competent and serviceable, but man, it doesn't look very good. Holy crap, she
Damn,
did
she apparently
something.
is pretty strong, able to kick a giant metallic being like that.
Also, I can't believe.
Oh, I love this one. And now Blood Beak is a good guy now.
Well, again, as Jova mentioned, it's probably because now he has more control over the situation of his wife.
Pretty much, yeah.
Also, I can't believe that those claws emerging from the wagon's floor might have been a reference to Nightmare on Elm Street, because we got a Friday the 13th reference previously, and both of them were owned by New Line Cinema at the time of this movie. Friday the 13th.
Oh, here we go. And there you go. See, they're all useless. They're all useless.
Okay,
Jesus.
to their credit, the weapons broke against them, so I wouldn't say it's them being useless so much as the fact that
They're facing
the
something that
goons
they
are
weren't
buffed.
prepared for.
Yeah.
And there you go. She died.
And now
I love this. And now Garrett shows up and proves his earlier remark completely wrong.
Yeah, actually, that's the thing. And now, finally, the story arc of Twin Headed Dragon is the fact that they can accomplish things if they put their heads together, because the entire point is that they were, in disagreement all the time. It's a cute concept, but it feels very stupid.
Also, Arthur, shouldn't you have Rongo Miniodon in addition to Excalibur at this point?
I don't remember how it's wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced
Also-
differently. And she has no comeback. Okay.
I guess this is what I guess this is what this movie calls flirting.
And you let him go.
Just roll with it.
Uh,
Didn't waste any time.
And the Superman theme.
We're owned by Warner Brothers. We can do that.
Everyone was doing. I think was Kangaroo Jack released on the same time because that was also doing it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Kangaroo rejected that.
Dibs. Is it possible for John Williams to roll around in his grave even though he's still alive?
Hey Joe, don't tempt fate.
Also, like, Jalea, love you, Batman, but that god,
Well-
CGI trapdoor.
Well, if you ever wanted to have Patrick Doyle do an arrangement of the Superman theme, there you go.
Uh-huh. Usually we get John Ottman for that.
Oh god, that Arthur's face. What was with that?
The animation in this movie is just...
Again, like I said, no wonder the animation team hates doing this movie. I can literally see their frustration put on screen. Also, not helped by the fact that a lot of stuff is CGI'd for no real reason.
The way this movie is animated in general really bothers me.
It's like I said at the start. It feels like at times they actually do want to try and compete with Disney, but at other times they skimp out on the budget.
So yeah, here's another
It feels
idea
more like
of-
a direct-to-video movie.
Yeah. Yeah, here's also how, something else that our protagonist has, because she had an intuition, if you paid attention.
Mhm.
I think it's an eagle.
Falcon.
Falcon, okay.
And coincident, they managed to trick him into re-put the sword in the stone, and apparently that's actually how it manages to break the enchantment. Sure.
So,
Huh.
what?
For referencing the Arthurian Cycles, the story itself meant really nothing, and it was Excalibur
Oh.
who was actually magical. And now, for the purpose of this movie, also this.
What?
Again, I'm fine with this.
What?
I guess it's, you can make an argument that it's a case of self-acceptance, So,
Yeah.
but it still comes a bit out of nowhere. But again, I can believe for the purpose of this movie that being in the stone made the actual stone properly magical. So it's just that it feels very, very convenient.
Like, I'll be fair, some iterations of the Arthurian legend have played around with stuff, and hey, actually throwing in the stone is a neat idea, and I'll give the movie credit. It did kind of hint at this with
Oh,
the
and now we
start
jump
of the
immediately to the epilogue.
Christ, the pacing. But
Yeah.
yes, we get both a wedding and a well, not a coronation, but a
Not
knighting.
knighting, yes. Yeah, you can tell this world was originally for Christopher Reeve because
Well-
the color scheme really reminds of a Superman costume.
Well, I agree with you, Arthur, since you have been completely fucking useless for this entire movie. Yeah, definitely. They definitely reminded us of that.
To his credit, again, the movie wasn't focused on him.
God, even the music is so badly animated. So the dancing is badly animated.
How do you animate music?
Fantasia.
God damn it, I was about to say that.
No!
Stop
Stop!
doing that!
Why?
Oh my god.
Why?
You know, and there you go. This is Marilyn literally saying this was my master plan all along.
But you didn't do anything.
You didn't do
Didn't
anything.
I? Didn't I?
No,
Billy,
you
keep
did
your
not.
fetishes away from us.
Just
Just
knighted.
knighted.
I'm sure that horse's ass is getting spanked all the time. Also, low
Oh,
frame
Oh
rate
god,
sheep,
the
so-
fucking the low frame rate sheep. Jesus.
How do you like that, guys? We literally end on a horse's ass.
getting spanked by the signpost.
I wasn't aware that my computer was not capable of running this movie since there's so much slowdown. Like,
My God.
That's this movie's power. It turns your
We all
computer
need
into
new
a
PCs,
Windows
apparently.
Windows Vista.
Alright, there's no post-credit scene, so none of these people will ever be invited to God Eddie. I cannot even make the multiversus joke because that is dead. Lips.
Well, that sucked. I mean, I've seen worse animated films. I'll give it that much.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of wasted Jane Seymour as well while we're at it. But even I think that the
Oh,
animation.
wait, hold on. I gotta say this. Hey, Dwibs, at least they fought to give Pierce Brosnan a singing double instead of having Pierce Brosnan himself sing. That would be dumb.
Yeah. That's just the same. Even the animation itself doesn't even look all that impressive. When it's not just trying to copy Disney, there are times where the faces contort really weirdly. Like it's like watching one of those exaggerated animated films.
It's like you can feel the movie straining, trying to be like Disney, except for the bits where they clearly cut corners on the animation.
I'll say the music is the best part of the movie, both in terms of most of the songs and Patrick Doyle's score.
mm-hmm.
The characters are there. Oh, the dragons are the most annoying ones, and the best one is the blind guy. What's his name?
Garrett.
Garrett, yeah. At the very least, his blindness isn't made into a running joke. Even that's at least been done somewhat tastefully in other stuff. The villain, well, honestly, just really generic. I think Gary Oldman was. I wonder if those lines were written for somebody else in mind, because I don't think Gary Oldman was really the right fit for this kind of character.
I
Agreed.
mean, again, he was a big name and he was known for doing villainous roles.
I wonder if originally they wanted Jeremy Irons to go more in parallel with Disney stuff.
I could see that also being the case, yes.
I would like to remind you, in case you're wondering, but Jeremy Irons is above this kind of thing. Not even 2 years after these Dungeons and Dragons. I rest my case.
Dungeons and
Exactly.
Dragons might actually be worse than this movie.
I mean, it's more entertaining.
Agreed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This movie's meant to be more of a slightly more comedic spin on the Camelot story.
Dwibs, that was the original take. That was before we decided, no, it needs to be a bold, epic Disney wannabe.
But it's still got comedy in it, and it's not funny.
It's almost like the transition wasn't fluid.
Well, yeah, it's about as fluid as the animation is in this movie.
True.
Did you already talk about your thoughts on the female protagonist?
I've seen worse. I mean, at least she
must have seen
does.
better.
Yeah, I've seen better. You know what the sad thing is, though?
What?
I've seen worse that came out after this.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Like
That's the thing that always stings me the most. There's one thing if you have a really bad example of something, and it's really well known, and that you think, okay, at least no one will be stupid enough to do anything as bad or worse than this, right? Right? And then they do something worse.
Like, what keeps this from being the worst is, like Shuri mentioned, Kaylee does have a reason to be inexperienced, and she does eventually get going. She just takes a while to. Like, she does get to do stuff, thankfully.
I think my problem, Joe,
Also,
is that
Acme, what are these credits?
Manager of Acme. Oh my.
because Coyote is suing too. But I think my problem, Jova, is that you'd think by the beginning of the movie they would have her, show potential as a knight. Like, because throughout most of the movie she shows exactly zero potential as a knight. So the idea that she now can become a proper knight just never becomes believable to me.
During her I Want More song, she does have a small sequence where she demonstrates acrobatics and jousting. So technically there is that.
And we
And
do
that would
also
be
get
fun,
the
Theo.
and we do also get the bouts where Garrett trains her, which shows why she gets better later on.
And like I said before, I don't mind the film not explaining like every single little nook and cranny. The issue is, and I think this does have to do with the length, because it's so short. It doesn't really have a lot of time to, even at least do the showy kind of explanation.
Set things up, build
Instead,
the world.
instead things just happen because it's magic.
Mm-hmm. Lord of the Rings, this is not.
Oh, right, give me
Yeah.
just a sec. Give me just a second, Waves. This is actually the reprise of a prayer, if I recall correctly. In case you're wondering, Shiri, the other guy that is singing and whistling the on is an Italian opera singer called Andrea Bocelli. He was actually born, also with blindness due to congenital glaucoma, but he decided to devote his life actually to learn how to sing and became very successful.
Good for him.
Go on, Waves.
Yeah, honestly, unless I've missed anything, that's really about it. It's a pretty bad movie, and was pretty indicative of the issues that the film industry was facing at that point. But I've seen worse. In fact, while I'm here, just before I go, wonder what this film was competing against. It came out on the 15th of May 1998, along with such films as Bulworth, a Warren Beatty movie, Clock Watchers, and The Horse Whisperer. So in terms of films around this demographic, it didn't really have a whole lot of competition. The closest ones I can think of that came out a bit after this were The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars
That was a thing.
and Godzilla. But yeah, I'm done.
But Gribbs, I just need your help, please.
No.
Pedro, go on.
It's such a. This is literally the filmmaking equivalent of styrofoam. Like, it tastes like nothing. It does nothing. It's just like, it's such a barrage of Disney cliches parading as a movie. And the characters are okay. Garrett is, of course, the best character because he's a great fighter. He's useful. He has that stupid moment where he thinks he doesn't belong in Camelot, even though he's the only one in this fucking movie that can fight. Aside from that, the characters are all idiots. The comic relief is painfully unfunny. Painfully. Which is criminal considering the actors involved. Kaylee is an absolutely pathetic protagonist because by the time she finally starts actually, kicking ass, supposedly, by that point it's too little, too late, and not at all believable to me. Here's an idea. Wouldn't it make more sense to see in the childhood portion at the beginning, to have the father train her a bit with like wooden swords. That's usually how these kinds of stories go. They have the parent train her with wooden swords, and she does a good job against them, to show how she has potential to do that. That's something that's a very common
Or
way
at the
to
very
do
least,
things.
have a montage during her growing
Yeah.
up years.
Sure
Kind
would
of
have
like
helped.
Tarzan did.
Sure would have helped
Yeah,
if the
that-
movie dared to give like an extra 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, that's the problem. This movie the pacing is one of the biggest problems. The movie moves at such a breakneck speed, and as a result, never at any point does the movie stop for a moment so that we can absorb what's going on. To stop for a moment to develop the characters. The only character who's properly fleshed out is Garrett. Kaylee is. I can't even say she's plucky generic plucky Disney era, because she's not even plucky. She's just bland and like, she might as well be a blow-up doll Garrett carries around. The other characters, like I said, the dragons are pitiful and funny. The king he's there. Merlin claims to have done something, even though not particularly. Ruber is an incredibly bland, generic villain. The world building is crap. The animation is kind of crappy, even worse than I remember. The songs, for the most part, are great, but even the soundtrack is not perfect, because the dragon song is utterly painful and not funny, not catchy. It's just and Ruber's song, I have no idea what the hell they were thinking. Like, okay, it's not even just the lyrics being dumb. The melody itself has no rhythm. Like, he'll sing a line, he'll sing a verse, and then we do a 2-second pause before the next verse. And it's such an awkward pause. Like, the song has no rhythm, no flow. Like, it literally feels like Gary Oldman is making up the song as he sings. like seriously, it's like, I have a plan. It includes you. Pause. Like, seriously,
Do you think they
Who
made
the
a
heck-
song out of the script there?
Usually, if it's something that improvised, it's information we would have known by this
You
point.
told me, Joe, that when we watched Scalebound and we did our podcast with Deji, that it feels like they're talking the songs rather than singing them. That's what Ruber's song feels to me. It doesn't feel like Gary Oldman is singing; he's talking the song.
Movie,
that makes sense.
is that movie called Scalebound?
No, not Scalebound, Spellbound. Sorry.
Okay.
You have to understand, Theo. The pain still runs deep. You have to understand. The song sucks. That being said, yes, The Prayer is an absolutely wonderful song. Fortunately, nobody remembers that this song comes from this movie, which is a good thing, because it's a great song, and I don't want it to be associated with this movie. Same thing with I Stand Alone. It's a great song. Too bad the movie completely annuls its existence literally 10 seconds after it's finished. Seriously. It's literally like I'm watching The Lion Guard. Like, what other songs are worth talking about? Kaylee's song is so bland. No matter how many times I hear it, it immediately leaves my brain the moment it finishes. It's so bland, it's impossible to remember.
I think the only other song remaining is the one at the very beginning, the one about unity, trust, and no traffic accidents.
Oh yeah, the beginning song, United We Stand. That one is also good. Yeah, that's it. Like it's such a bad. It's a typical 90s animated movie that's trying to rip off Disney. It's not even one of the quote unquote good ones. I will say that I will take Swan Princess over this, because at least Swan Princess had more of a unique personality to it compared to this. It was
I'll take this over The King and I, though.
It was still dying. Well, yeah, me too. But
Oh yeah.
it was still. Swan Princess is still by at Disney, but it still felt like at the very least had some semblance of an identity, at least in comparison to this movie. This movie has no identity. The executive mandates are written all over this fucking movie.
I wonder, could we honestly say Swan Princess was the best of the Diet Disney era?
I'll have to think about that.
I'll have to think too.
Okay, I fail to see the association. So by putting the sword back in the stone, it somehow reverts the magic of the Acme potion?
Okay, like I said, my speculation is that due to being imbued in that. Some of the original essence of Excalibur got transferred into the stone. It was actually showcased early in the movie that the three circles were glowing, and the moment Excalibur was away from the castle, they were starting to fade away. So that's my guessing what they do about their thought process, And the moment he jumped away, they restored its purity, which meant cleansing about, the potion effect, which in turn led to the villain getting dissolved. I don't know.
I mean, the annoying thing is it seems like there was thought being put into this, but more so when it was going to be its more original comedic take on apparently one of the more comedic side stories of the Arthurian legends. Like, I'm kind of interested to see what it would have originally been like, but it feels like it was pigeonholed to try and be bigger than it was, which makes me wonder, are the bits that are better animated actually from when it was just trying to be a comedy instead of trying to be big sweeping Disney? Because I feel like the bits with the worst animation are the bits that are trying to, look big and epic. Not saying they never work, but is it just me, or are those where most of the animation errors come from?
No fucking clue.
No fucking clue. Yeah, that's it. So all I have to say is I can just imagine in my mind that the true happy ending of this movie, where just like in Holy Grail, everybody gets arrested at the end.
Like the police.
That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, I'll go next, actually. Might as well. God, I think this movie might have aged for even worse than I remember. And I don't mean necessarily the themes, even the way it looks. I forgot how bad the animation is in all those spots. And I don't mean just the CGI, even the 2D animation. Like I said, there's a lack of cohesion between shots. The art style radically shifts. I know that it sounds like I'm about to be hyperbolic, but I swear to God, I'm getting flashbacks to Titanic The Legend Goes On with this one. And that's not a good sign to Star Wars starters. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, this movie is just a mess for all the reasons that we mentioned. The acting, you can tell we just want a bunch of big celebrities because gotta get the Disney money and all the tickets in the seats, which I don't think we mentioned. But if I recall correctly, this movie was a spectacular bomb, and one of the reasons why Warner Bros. Limited its animation output and eventually had it fade direct to video, with the last major hurrah for the theatrical stuff being, of course, the Iron Giant. The voice acting was clearly done for getting, assets in seats for the celebrity money. The score is fine on its own. The songs are really just an acquired taste, in judging them each by each. The prayer, of course, is the one that stands out. And even then, I know that these days it's more used improperly for those feel-good type of, videos that just waste it. It's kind of similar to how Pink Floyd, The Wall, tends to be used in relation to society is bad type of, generic video about kids on their iPhones all the day. So it's not a matter of the actual source, but the fact that it has been, diluted over time. Almost all the other songs are unsalvageable to me, and I include I Stand Alone. Sure, the music in itself is epic in scope, and the singing is fine, but my god, it's just a big ball of nothing, and for the message of saying, hey kids, being a lone wolf is fine, and then it gets, even then gets contradicted immediately after. It's just a literal waste of time. Every other song in the movie is just, a downgrade compared to after these two, because we get the beginning song, which tries to be setting up things, but overall it's just raising the question. It makes me wonder, was the villain also singing along with others about the themes of unity? Because that makes no goddamn sense. Then there's the Dragon Duet song. It's just comic relief with forward-breaking and pop cultural references. I forgot if I mentioned that during Hunchback Notre Dame, but I'm someone who actually don't mind particularly the anachronistic pop cultural references if they are placed in the songs, because this, like my weird, complicated relationship with musical pieces makes me believe that the movie is just entering into a different dimension just for that moment. So they're basically allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. or even for the purpose of comedy. So that in itself does not bother me. It's just the song very stupid about, them wanting to be separated, which is the entire character arc, about accepting who they are. And then that last place, of course, is the villain song, which is more of a, not even a chant. As someone who actually has the weird guilty pleasure of liking the 2019 version of Be Prepared, I know. This one does not even remotely qualify with the same reason why I like that, because I think, it's a chant that is using to rise up, people, and there's a, rhythmic quality to the voice. But as mentioned, it's just Gary Oldman rambling into the microphone while there is some, generic music in the background. The sound itself is relatively catchy enough, but it's just embarrassing. God damn.
Okay, better or worse than his performance in Lost in Space, which was also a Warner Brothers movie, if I recall correctly.
I'm gonna have to go with worse because he was funny in Lost in Space.
Not to mention, I argue his character had a bit more nuances. The whole giant space fighters infection is a can of worms for another time. But at the very least, the character as a terrorist that had to actually live with the Robinsons, that's still, I made more sense in terms of cohesion and everything. And it's a shame also because for this movie, as noted previously, the movie genuinely tries to sell you the fact that this villain is genuinely a menace because he's both physically and emotionally intimidating, but they waste him so much. I appreciate the fact that My Country's Dub decided to ignore the idea of being, tied to a voice similar to Gary Oldman and decided to have something slightly more deep to make him actually more threatening, which makes, lines like the ogre's butt better by proxy. But it's still not enough. Then there's the other weird casting, like Bronson Pinchot as the Griffon. It really just feels out of nowhere. Now I can make a comparison. This is a worse performance than him in The Langoliers, because in The Langoliers his character is hilarious.
Oh, yes.
But
like, he was practically a cartoon in that.
But that's just basically the voice acting, the casting, and the songs. Almost everything else is just a mess, as mentioned. The story is way over too simple for its own good. Excalibur is stolen. It's right in the middle between our protagonist home and Camelot itself. So actually getting there does not require too much. And again, apparently it involves the fact that the UK terrain has a canyon full of dragons, a couple of different forbidden forests with all sorts of magical shit, and the fact that a protagonist's father managed to do all the trekking, to get to Camelot without any problems, unless he took a different route, I suppose. But still, it's very weird. We were talking also about the hero's journey, like Jova, you were saying about it. I argue it doesn't really fit it unless you're talking in a broader way, because it has the very simplistic way of starting of a journey, mentor character, moment of darkness, returning with the gift of a goddess beats, but they are just there on a technicality, I will argue. Our protagonist is practically in the same position since the beginning of the movie till the end, and only towards the end manages to finally score, a decent amount of genuinely good plans, both by thinking of her own and acting, actually, on her acrobatics a bit, but it's still arguably not enough. Again, I don't want the movie to go on the other extreme and having to oversell like a lot of movies try to do these days, but there is a balance, guys. I'm sure you could find it. And again, we commented about recently when fucking M. Night Shyamalan in the climax of The Village manages to have a better summation of the hero's journey than this movie. I'm sorry. You have fucked up.
I don't know if I could say that The Village is better than this, but I do get what you mean that one at least had a better...
For all these problems, Shyamalan at least looked at the image of the hero's journey and decided to stick to a T with the entire climax in the woods. Like I said, it's scarily accurate. It pinpoints everything. But this is just someone who barely remembers it from, copying it from their schoolmates back in third grade. Again, this is just the demonstration of the fact that the plot was cobbled together again in a different way at the last second. As for the other characters, again, Garrett is the MVP of the movie, but that's out of a necessity. Again, if there was a genuine balance between him and our protagonist, probably we would have actually made the product more enjoyable. As it is, what it is actually nice, like Jova and Shire said, to actually see him properly kicking ass, without having to be an actual burden. And I wouldn't want even every other way. I partially agree with Pedro that I wanted also for a main character to also do something, and then kick ass together. But he's doing most of the work, and again, on the long run, it becomes almost a parody of itself, to the point where the moment he temporarily leaves her be, she gets captured almost immediately. It almost feels like clockwork. Again, I guess it could have been so much worse, much like what a lot of the stereotypes of the 90s were doing, so I guess it's a thing we will have to take. And also, the comic relief Double Dragon is just, even that is worse than I remember, because my Scholastic memory movie was like, yeah, they're both annoying, but they do a couple of stuff before the climax. But no, they're just there to be the comic relief, and the only other contribution that they have before realizing that they have to work together is to warn Garrett of the fact that our protagonist was captured. That's it. Again, the message of self-love and accepting who you are and cooperating together to achieve something, that's not a bad message to give, particularly also for siblings. Certainly could have lived very well without all the self-says kissing. Jesus Christ. Like, I don't know who thought it was a good comedic moment. Other than that, it's just another waste of time, just there to cash in on the Disney formula. I argue the Falcon may be the best character, on virtue that the Falcon takes the movie very seriously, achieves shit all the time, is responsible for managing to save the day by having the Griffon not getting the sword immediately to the villain, and doesn't have to say much, although apparently the credits mention that they had Frank Welker doing the Falcon noises, instead of actually using stock sound effects. I don't know. That's kinda it. I don't mind the fact that King Arthur and Merlin are technically sidestepped in this kind of story, because I've seen a lot of Arthurian, not Apocrypha, but gaiden kind of stories where they're not the main focus but just happen to be set. The most famous is, of course, The Green Knight, which apparently, from what Dimitrovs also mentioned, they were planning on franchising this shit, and The Green Knight was supposed to be the second movie. I don't even know how that would have turned out, considering the type of story it is.
Wait. The Green Knight was supposed to be a sequel to this?
Well, not to the movie that we got, Jova, but the story of the Green Knight was supposed to be adapted for the sequel to this.
Ah, I see.
Anyway.
Anything else, or?
No, I think I'm pretty much done with this. Again, it's worse than I remember. I argue, honestly, I don't think I want to watch this ever again. I think it has been soured that much. I still agree what I said at the beginning, that it's still fun to make fun of, but dear God, never again, at least for the time being, unless I have alcohol.
I'm probably the biggest King Arthurian legend aficionado, and no, that's not just from Sonic and Fate. I'm actually familiar with the original Arthurian legends, and something about this movie does fascinate me, but really only for roasting sessions.
Alright, I'm done. Java.
This movie is... Okay, it's not the most painful thing for me. That might be because, more often than not, when I'm dealing with this movie, it's with friends in a nice session bout overall. That being said, this is easily one of the most hilarious catastrophes in the era of the Diet Disney reign. Like, I mean, it will never cease to baffle me when a company thinks, oh yeah, we can totally curb in on the market of the big guys without actually putting in the effort that they gave. Like, no, this movie could have worked. There is a clear plot and structure here. Girl wants to be a knight. Fair and fine. Interesting conflict. You got a cast of characters. You throw in your Excalibur, your spells and whatnot. Bam. They screwed it up. They screwed it up. And honestly, I don't think this was really that hard to get, honestly. Okay, might as well break this down from the start and work our way to the end here. Like I said off from the get-go, the animation. I feel like part of the issue was them trying to make it big, sweeping, and epic like a Disney movie without giving this movie the budget. And yes, it had a budget of $40 million, made only $38 million. Ouch. But, like, $40 million, I get the feeling a lot of that money went to the extremely stellar cast instead of the animation. And to hear that even Lauren Faust was involved with this, and it sounds like her remarks are the equivalent to Hayao Miyazaki calling Little Nemo the worst movie of his professional career. So, yeah, it's never a good sign when a renowned, artist pretty much regards an infamous picture as that bad, and here we are. The characters. Kaylee is... she might actually be a weaker character than Mulan from Mulan 2, goddammit. Like, I mean, okay, I want to be fair. She has a clear and conscious goal, and yeah, I'll be fair. She does get to eventually accomplishing that. The problem is the story does not do her favors for like the first 2/3 of the movie. She is a lot of bark and not bite. And you know what? Fair enough. She has to start somewhere, and her mother has been doing almost everything in her power to keep her from trying to be a knight. So it makes sense she has a clumsy start, but the movie does not do a good job framing any of her actions in a good light. Case in point, the prayer sequence. I'll talk more about the song later, but the sequence itself doesn't exactly show off the best for Kaylee. Again, I can understand. It's the start. She's thrown into a panicking situation. Fair enough. The issue is, like Teal mentioned, the lack of balance. Like, okay, one of the issues with, a lot of adaptations I have is when, of course, you're waiting for the iconic hero of that adaptation to be just like they were in the original source material, but since more often than not it's an origin story, you gotta wait until near the end of the movie for them to truly get to be as awesome like they are. This feels like that, except it's not a clear-cut adaptation, where Kaylee really has to wait to actually get to show off her stuff, and I can't blame people who don't have faith in her as a protagonist because she does not get to show off well as a protagonist. On the other end of the spectrum, there's Garrett, a guy so awesome. I don't want to say he's OP because, to give it credit, they do showcase that he still has some difficulties being blind and all. That said, he is so competent that the story has to go out of its way to suddenly give him self-doubt at, like, the last minute, right before they're about to head to Camelot. And, okay, for all Kaylee's problems, I don't feel like it's fair to blame her. I really blame more so the script, because yes, the minute Garrett goes away, she gets pretty much ambushed by Rupert and his fellow corps. It's like, to your credit, she's good, but she's not like one of King Arthur's Round of the Table knights who, in some iterations, literally have special superpowers, essentially, so her getting ambushed, I'd say that's fair to her, seeing as how there was not much she could do in that situation. That being said, I do blame the script for kind of at least not letting her try and have a fight before getting captured. Like, it's this weird bout where it feels like they were trying to write her like the more damsel Disney princess bout, but also trying to go for a bit more of that spunky Mulan or Nala energy, essentially, where she can be more proactive. Bladebeak is fine. Yeah, he's actually one of the better handled characters. That's only because he doesn't have as much to do, so there's not much to ruin with him. Like, I do get the gist of things with him. Still not the best, though. Ruber, I'll give it credit. Ruber, as a villain, is actually relatively competent and can throw hands. That's cool. What isn't cool is his villain song. Villain songs are supposed to be some of the easiest slam dunks of a soundtrack. Like, they are typically often considered to be the best parts of a movie soundtrack because this is where typically the songwriters can go wild and free. This feels so banal. Like, it feels like it was Gary Oldman having to improv, so he adapted the script into a slapdash song. Which, mind you, even with that in mind, I'm fine with the song, but like I said, one of the few things that I do think is legit awesome about this movie is its soundtrack, so being fine still makes it a clearly bad deviation of quality from the rest here. Like, shoot, even Kaylee's I Want song is leagues above Rupert's villain song. And speaking of that villain song, yeah, that leads us to The Prayer, which is hands down the most famous song that came out of this. It's fantastic. It's wonderfully performed by Celine Dion, yet terribly used in the actual context of the movie, as we've covered to great length. Jesus Christ. Garrett's song of Standing Alone is also a pretty good one. Like, no, the soundtrack in general is awesome, but it's terribly used. Like, I'm fine even with the Dragons' song, but it's not helped by the fact that the Dragons aren't compelling characters themselves here. And the twincest, whatever self-system going on with them is just why? And yes, they have an arc about wanting to be separated, but in the end they appreciate being together, and look, they can fly and breathe fire, so now they've proven themselves as true dragons. Like, that just went
They
in
fly
one
now.
ear, They fly now! It just goes in one ear and out the other with their arc. Like, I don't find them super annoying, but I don't find them funny. So they wear out their welcome either way, unfortunately. Just a shame, such a waste of two great comedians. Merlin! He did stuff! This was all according to his plan. Well done! I guess I can give this movie credit that it had the common sense to not have Pierce Brosnan sing, unlike Mamma Mia. Otherwise, Pierce Brosnan's good enough as King Arthur. I think that pretty much covers it, though. The music overall is great, and hey, the score is overall good too. Well done, Patrick Doyle, but it's a soundtrack deserving of a better movie, because almost everything else just falls flat on its face. And to think, they were so confident in this that they made a video game based off of it too, which, surprise of all shocks, was also a knockoff of The Legend of Zelda. I still can't believe that exists. Someday we might cover it, but for now, Quest for Camelot. If you are a big film aficionado, I recommend you maybe watch this once, just to see the history, the zeitgeist of the time. But unless you really enjoy the music and soundtrack, don't bother watching it again. Like, just enough to prove that, yes, the ogre's butt is an actual line, not edited for comedy and reviews and whatnot. Which, hey, you probably have if you're watching this commentary. So, kudos there. Otherwise, watch it as a roast with friends. Okay, Shiroi, your final thoughts.
Well, I disliked all of that. Like, the animation is very weird. Like, it's so floaty, and I don't like looking at it, to be honest. Also, yeah, some of the faces, I don't know if it's like when they're trying to mimic the Disney facial movements or whatever, but everybody just kind of stretches and it's a little unsettling. The comic relief is terrible, and also, gross. The villain is whatever. The songs are whatever, honestly. Was not expecting again, the mechanical elements and stuff, but honestly, I should have, considering this is supposed to be a Disney knockoff. Well, not really a knockoff because it doesn't really follow. Like, it definitely has some like very blatant. It was like references and stuff, but like it's not 1-to-1. So it's more like they're trying to just like put out something similar enough. So it's like try to get a cash grab out of that, I suppose. Only one character is actually interesting. Garrett. Yeah. Not an awful portrayal. Nothing mind-blowing either. It's kind of just okay, I guess. It's they didn't do anything particularly wrong. Yeah, the heroine is just not a good character. And neither is anyone else, really. Everyone kind of just does nothing or is stupid.
Except for Merlin, who planned everything.
Sure, whatever. That's it. I think I did not like this. This was terrible.
I think that's what he says every night when he goes lie down. Man, I did something today.
Can I also apologize to everybody here and the audience as well?
We're a bit late for that. But,
No. I need to clarify this. Okay, so my brain cells were not working when I looked at the list of movies to pick from. I thought we were about to watch a Monty Python movie.
You're telling me we could have done Holy Grail instead of this.
I think she's...
Listen, I mixed up my movies, okay? And we ended up watching this.
Well,
so this wasn't me being like, haha, I'm going to pick a bad movie because it'll be funny because I do that often. This was not intentional. This was a complete fuck up on my part. And I apologize to everyone.
It was purely an accident. I guess that's the narrative we're going with.
Well, Pedro, Pedro, to her credit, Camelot, Eric Idle.
Coincidences?
It was not intentional.
That's what a person that would be lying would say. That's the problem. So I don't know.
I didn't have fun with this.
All right.
The idea of picking a bad movie for everyone to watch is like, oh, I've already seen this movie, so I know what you're in for. I haven't seen this.
I don't know. For all I know, you could have been like in the background while you were merely going.
So basically, what you're saying is,
God, I wish.
What you're saying is that this technically could have sufficed for an April Fool's pick when you think about it. It's a Camelot movie starring Eric Idle.
Mistakes were made. That's the point.
Yeah, mistakes were made. I've learned. That is my apology. I do not have a ukulele. I do not have a ukulele. I'm so sorry. I will grow as a person.
Don't you see,
right.
the
anyway, that is it
what
for
brings
me.
it all together.
That's it for Quest for Camelot. We're probably not gonna have a triple trouble of this shit because again, Deji has already seen the movie on his own, and God, like I said, I'm done with this shit. So stay tuned for whatever other Apocrypha Arthurian movie we'll do eventually.
Or the video game.
No.
Shut up.